Good morning and welcome to the Saturday morning forum here of the Rainbow Push Coalition. We're so happy that you're here. Come on, give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand. The movement has to have a plan. You've got to have a plan, right? And that's why we're here today. We're here to discuss the plan moving forward. Yeah. We've got a wonderful panel and some great artists here that are going to share where they are in this moment and where we should go as a group collective. One of the conversations that I was having earlier this week with the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, our founder. Come on, give a hand for that. We got to have a plan, and we've got to come together as a community. We've got to stop working in silos. We've got to make room for each other. So that's what we're doing here today. We're making room for one another to sit at the table in our collective spaces to come together to create a plan. Amen. Amen. We've got a wonderful program. We're going to start off with a panel discussion around education. Our own Dr. Sonia Whitaker is going to lead this conversation, and I'm going to hand it over to her right now. Amen. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Give her a hand.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, beautiful people. Near and abroad. As has been indicated, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. I'm also now the lead on our not only just community engagement, but membership-related efforts. Former superintendent of schools and deputy superintendent of schools in the state of Illinois. I'm excited for what we have to talk with you about today. I'll have each of my distinguished panelists introduce themselves to you.
Yes. Good day, everyone. I am Kristen Turner. I am a master early childhood educator. I'm graduated from DePaul, and this is my 7th year in the classroom. I'm also a new teacher coach, so I mentor new teachers on how to stay abreast in the classroom. I'm a community organizer here with Healthy Hood Chicago, and a curriculum and instruction advocate for young students. So welcome. Thank you all for being here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Victoria Susbury. I have my PhD in educational psychology, and I'm really committed to how do Black women take up space in educational settings. I also am a first grade teacher in a CPS school in the south side of Chicago, and I do work with the retention and support and encouragement of Black teachers in Chicago.
Can we make some noise, y'all? My heart is so full right now, as you can tell in my big smile. But my name is Chairman Allen. I'm one of the small cogs that make up the machine, Healthy Hood. I'm the director of arts and culture, and I primarily deal with our youth. I build a lot of curriculums based on arts and culture and the lens of liberation. And yeah, I love it. The goal is to continue to shift the minds and empower our young people to get excited about civics, get excited about community engagement. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so very much. I'll start out by saying that and being clear that our goal, the election is over. Our goal here today is not to admire problems, but as opposed to doing so, our goal is to look at the past reality. But again, our goal is to look forward. With that being said, one of the things I think I would be remiss if I did not remind us is even with all of the hard work that was done around the election, there is one talk track that we all continue to hear, and that there is a generation of voices that we missed, that there's a generation of voices that needed to be heard. And so I want to be clear that the spirit by which I engage in this dialogue is one with sincerity in terms of making sure that we hear. And in this case, we have a community activist here, but also educators here. And so with that being said, I want to ask you from an educator's perspective, there is a lot of talk about what will happen and what will change with public education or could change as a result of the new administration. What matters to you most, and what do you think that administration should be thinking about?
I think that's a great question. I'm going to tab onto that first. There's so many issues that impact education and the knowledge that we all enact to do the things that we do every day. The Board of Education being the pillar of free and fair education for all is something that is on the table for being eradicated. And I think aside from the importance of free and public education for all, there needs to be a extremely direct focus on our environments and the different communities we have, because in the end of it all, if the Board of Education is taken from us in a way that it's been threatened to, then the community is what we have to depend on, and that community thrives in the environments that we take care of. And I think not just on a physical environmental level of keeping our communities clean, but the care and consideration we have for the people that live next to us. I think that's the huge difference from our generations before us, that they knew their neighbors and they knew what their neighbors needed. They knew their neighbors' children's names, and I think that's something that we need to bring back in the terms of understanding how each of us are interconnected, and intercommunalism is one of the questions on the table, how we can continue to make sure that we're providing the needs of the people who are around us. And that's something that is going to be very vital for us moving forward, to make sure that we continue to sustain this level of awareness and acknowledgement and knowledge that we have, that has been so painstakingly ripped like a new skin for us, to be aware of all of these things with this new administration. And now we need to keep that momentum of keeping the awareness going within our communities and making our environments and our communities better.
I would take a little bit of a different perspective, and I would want the administration to focus on their teacher preparation programs. As we know, in America, 80% of all educators are white women. And that is not what we're seeing, at least in Chicago, in a lot of our schools. That's not the demographic that's reflected. I work in a public school in a relatively affluent neighborhood, and even our demographics do not reflect 80% white children, you know? And so how do we, as an administration, as a community, as a culture, uplift Black educators to want to engage in what is really hard work? Because you're not going to be paid for everything you do. You are going to have to work longer hours. You are going to have to get to know these families and get to know these students and really kind of invest yourself in a way that's not normal, I think, for the average 9 to 5. And so how do we set these Black men and women, these Black people up to be empowered in the classroom, to be empowered in the school building, to become, you know, the principals that we need, to become the counselors that we need? Because I think right now the way that education is framed just in America is this cutesy job for white girls. And that's really not what it is, and that's not what you're gonna experience. And I'm sorry, I hate to be frank, but I think about my own education at the University of Illinois, where I was one of 2 Black people, and every conversation about race, which I think are important, was surface level at best. They wanted to hit it and quit it. They wanted to move on to the next thing. They wanted to read the next read aloud. And it's like, the children in front of you need you to care. The children in front of you need you to understand. You will never reach them if you are more concerned with how cute your decorations are than you are with the people in front of you. So.
Bars. Man, when I think about what the focus should be, I think value. We have this mistruth that floods our city, that we have a violent city. I don't believe we have a violent city. I don't believe we struggle with violence. I believe we struggle with value. And if our young people don't value themselves, they're not going to value anyone that looks like them. Even further, they're not going to value anyone that doesn't. So when we talk about what the focus should be in school, I think our curriculum should match empowering our young people. And that comes through a few different ways. We talk about eradicating, or the new administration is talking about getting rid of the Board of Education. And, you know, we're already struggling on this lack of history. And the small pieces of history, the fractions of history that we get are not the ones that make us feel even more abundant. You know, like for our people, it's almost like we started as slaves. Like, we didn't start as doctors, kings, queens, and royalty. And I think it's such a huge part of our young people seeing themselves as what they truly are. I heard a really amazing quote by a sister named Bella Boz. She said, "The system is gearing up to fight an enemy that does not know they are powerful." And I think when we're in that space, that fight, the battle zone, it starts in the students' seats. It starts in the classroom. And how do we get to a space where they start really feeling more empowered enough to, because again, this idea of like being not smart enough to share space in intellectual spaces, it starts again in the classroom. This power dynamic, I think that should be focused on as well. This idea that it's like a cutesy job. Like our young people should be able to see themselves as the highest version. And again, that starts with the curriculum. It starts with how we're teaching them about themselves. My children, they currently go to Waldorf. It's a completely different type of curriculum. And before they start teaching them what to learn, they teach them how to learn. And this whole idea of catering to every learning style. CPS or public schools in general, they cater to one learning style. Listen. That's it. Sit down and listen. And so we wonder why our young people aren't empowered enough moving forward. There's, I believe, like 37 schools in the South and West Side that are like 1% literacy rate in their grade. We teach at one of them, Crane High School. And before we started our program there, our students didn't even know each other's names. They didn't feel empowered enough. They didn't feel a sense of belonging enough to connect with each other. So I think when we talk about, education, we need to start by empowering them to learn and showing them that they can.
Let me connect a dot for you, too. And then I want to go back to the two of you ladies and swing back around. And that is the dot that I want to connect. Again, I've been paying a lot of attention to what is said that we missed. And one of the things that I continuously hear is at the federal level and even at the local level, there's conversation about policies that sometimes somebody doesn't walk the policy down. So I want to walk one down for you. And it's related to this conversation about the fact that for a long time, and still today, a greater than majority of the teachers in our profession are white female educators. And we are not suggesting that white female educators can't be effective in their work, but we all know that children cannot be what they cannot see. But from a policy perspective, I want to connect a dot for you, and that is with regards to the current administration's plan of action to do away with the notion that student loans can be paid for. The current administration's plans to make sure that if your child, like mine, currently has a student loan, you think that you're out of it, right? Because they've already graduated. The plan is to increase the amount that we have to pay on the loans that my child or your child got 3 and 4 years ago. How does that connect to a conversation about educators? Where are we going to get black educators if they can't borrow the monies that they need, if they don't have full ride academic scholarships? So I want to make sure we don't go to sleep in terms of walking down what that policy means to the education workforce in terms of increasing the likelihood that black and brown and teachers whose native language is English and other than actually enter into the profession to do the things that we've just described. With that being said, I want us to think about another conversation related to how we use our Title I funds to support our after-school programs and the like. And right now, what is at risk is the funds that we use in 95% of school districts that service black and brown children and children experiencing the impact of poverty, which includes white children, that those funds are at jeopardy of being taken away from us. How do you use those funds in your respective organizations? And what would that mean for you in the event that did occur?
Ooh.
Heavy loaded.
Yes, but it's something I love to talk about because the access to resource and the experiences that children have greatly impact their outlook on the world, their value of themselves, what they can see, what they cannot be, what they cannot see. And so if you bring experiences, rich, transformative experiences to children, no matter what poverty or economic level they're from, it can transform their lives and their idea of what they see in the world and what they can be. And with that being said, the resources that different schools have to bring programs to give them those experiences is extremely important. And it is the very political revolutionary thing that a public education, I feel, has the heart of it. It's the ability to take things that aren't necessarily accessible to children and communities and expose them to it. So these funds and these academic programs, we have a robotics program at my school. I'm at a STEM school in Inglewood, and it's a STEM school in Inglewood that definitely could use more funding in terms of STEM, but that robotics program is gonna shift the experience of one kid, even if it's just one, to want to explore different career paths. And I think these programs are essentially important because it prepares them for the world of tomorrow, right? We think about schools in a way where children come to learn about their world today. And that's one of the things that the schooling system, out of all of the systems and structures we have in this country, this is the one that has not been completely reformed. It's one of the only systems that we have that still does the same thing as it does when it was first founded, right? They still go to school all day because it was created so that the working class could actually go to work. But now we're entering a world where the workday doesn't look the same. We have remote work. We tried remote learning, and we unveiled a lot of truths about the education system that we cannot be blind to anymore. And I think the academic and extracurricular programs that Title I funds afford us to have is extremely important because we saw the students need, we got a peek into their homes. We can talk to the parents. We know that they need counseling service. We know that we're, like you said, a customer service representative in some places to parents to help them help their child learn. And so with programs and funding, we can really fill those gaps and continue to give them the experiences that they deserve to prepare them for the world of tomorrow.
I am a big believer in integration in the classroom, meaning that our educators, that our staff members should be trained to incorporate the arts, incorporate the classics into their teaching styles. I think when we think about the funding we have for after-school programs and things of that nature, you also have to take into consideration the different type of schools. And so I'm even thinking about the school that I work at that literally has a nonprofit that raises money for the kids to have programming, for the kids to have, you know, different events, for the school to get renovated, for the teachers to get, et cetera. And you don't see that at every school, and that's a privilege that that school has. And so when I look at other schools who, you know, pulling that funding means they don't have a basketball team this year. And they don't have a safe place to go after 3 o'clock to find out if they're an artist, or to discover if they enjoy poetry, or to find, you know, like, we need the funding so that children can learn who they are. Because ultimately, that's what they're doing in school. They are learning who they are. They're learning who they want to be, what kind of person they are going to be morally, what kind of person they're going to be to their friends, to the people that they grow. And kind of like what you were saying, it expands the limits that they place on themselves for what they can be and what they see for themselves and who they can grow up to be. You know, the first time I met a Black PhD was in college. That I got to have a real legitimate conversation with. And I had never seen that for myself until I spoke to that woman. And so when we take away that funding and when we don't show children, like kind of like with your robotics team, like, this is something you could do, they are missing out on the opportunity to fall in love with their passion. And they're missing the opportunity to reach for their dreams. And it is our job as the adults in their lives to open those doors for them. So it would be such a shame if the administration went along with taking away those Title I funds, because it really does put them in, it's a position of privilege, right? Because the schools who aren't worried about that are the schools who can fund them themselves. And thinking about, like, Chicago, who are you robbing in the process?
Man, y'all be spitting. I love it. I think about how quality programs creates monumental impact. Monumental impact creates opportunity cost, options for our young people. Sitting in rooms, a lot of the times, we hear, you know, we need more seats for young people all the time. And then when the young people start to speak, programs are spoke about so much. I don't believe the system is stupid. I think they're beyond strategic. And we see this in strategy. In affluent neighborhoods, you know, the first piece of anything that young people have in their hands is an instrument or something creative. They understand the value of arts and culture. Now, in marginalized communities, when funding dwindles, the first thing to get let go, arts and culture programming. And you had said it so beautifully. It's like, this is our youth's opportunity to get to know themselves even more. Like, it's no coincidence that where we see that there's no arts and culture programming in schools, that the violence rate is higher, that crime rates are up. And again, I think it requires a different type of effort from the adults. We've had a conversation about homeschool. And what would it look like for community to re-look at homeschool and build a community homeschool within some of these organizations where the community can pay for it and the teachers can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I believe that it's an insane amount of effort that's required, but when we talk about the use of these funds, man, I think we need to start being more of the agitators and start creating this conversation in the rooms so that they hear that we're not ignorant to it, you know, because our kids deserve it, our young people deserve it. Yeah.
And so in summary, for our viewing and our listening audience, when you hear conversation at the local, state, or federal level with regards to doing away with federal funds specific to Title I, I want it to resonate in your spirit that we're talking about a significant amount of the budget that is given towards students and children that look like us. I want to pivot for just a second and think about Maslow's theory of hierarchy. And with regards to that, it's a reference to, before we get to reading, writing, and arithmetic, we have a certain level of need. It starts with food, clothing, shelter, and a need to feel safe, right? With that being said, I had the distinct honor of being with you all just a few days ago at Healthy Hood Chicago. Yeah, all right, we have Healthy Hood. And that was a great honor. Again, that was a deliberate attempt to me to say, I'm not going to get it if I stay in the office. I got to have these boots on the ground, moving around. So what I learned from the young adults there, it tripped me out because they were given a question. And the question that they were given is, what is it going to take to make you feel safe? And so I just assumed they were going to refer to safe in terms of not being attacked violently. To my surprise, which is why we got to have our boots on the ground, elected officials and the like, is that's not what they were talking about. They talked about feeling safe in terms of their mental health. They talked about the need to feel safe in terms of how they moved about interacting with people that didn't look like them and didn't have the same belief system as them. I know I've learned a lot about your background, Doc. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you're learning, experiencing, and thinking about younger adults and the fact that they're now talking about wanting to feel safe emotionally?
Yeah. I think as young Black people who are conscious, right? Like, think James Baldwin, to be a Negro and relatively conscious in America, right, is to be in a state of rage. And I think that, especially in the context of education, we are marginalized as Black and brown bodies in representation, but we're marginalized, but think about the fact that in 2023, the American Education Research Association topic was on race. So how is it, right, that everybody's aware that there's a problem, but the steps we're taking towards the problem is leading us to the same answers, and we're in that cycle of insanity, right, where we're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think that when you ask these young people about being safe and they start talking about their mental and emotional health, I think that we should consider, and just to give some background, my research was specifically on Black women's perceptions, like how people perceive them, how much mental work it is to work in an environment where you are the only one, or one of the few, or if when people are calling you to talk to the child, you don't know because they're Black and you're Black, or they're calling you to talk to a parent that you don't know because you speak Spanish and they speak Spanish. There's no relationship. They just calling you to do that race work for them that they don't want to do themselves, that they don't care to engage in. How does it feel to be an educator when the only time you're called to the office is to discipline? I don't want to be the disciplinarian every time they see me, you know? Why don't you have any classroom management? Why are we called on to do that? And even the little things, like I can't get angry at a PD without somebody making it about my race, my color, my past, you know. I can't have a strong emotion at work without worrying about making a colleague cry or worrying about who are they gonna believe or who are they gonna, you know, lean towards or who's going to get catered to in this situation. Even when we create these programs for our Black and brown children, is administration going to let us present this? Is this going to bother a certain type of parent? Is this going to, you know, even when we try to put our kids, our students, our communities at the forefront, what is that opposition pushing back? And to be constantly conscious of the fact that there is an opposition and that you are more likely to have to defend yourself, even if you're qualified, even if you're, you know, prepared, even if you're ready. I think that, yeah, I think our mental wellness, more than feeling physically safe, because I don't feel like anybody's gonna attack me, but if I'm not good here, and I'm not good here, I can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah. And so how do we protect our mental health? And I do think that our wellness is what we need to be secure in feeling safe.
And before you add value to that, I think we also should be clear about our bilingual students and what pressure they're experiencing. They're going home, they're watching the news, they're paying attention to what administration says, and then they're coming to school. So we can't act like their families and their communities are not impacted by the subliminal and now very direct messages about their worthiness in our country.
I think that's a really important point, and I am a bilingual teacher. I teach, have about 11 students who are bilingual in my classroom from all different countries, and they have been entering our school in general an influx. And so I think it's really important to talk about anti-bias teaching and that training that really needs to get past the surface level, because in the classroom, the mental work that I have to do to translate in real time doesn't compare to what I think about they have to do as young children who are still learning how to think and what to think, and then decipher between the two languages and the two unsaid notions of what is behind the language, all while thinking about their safety, all while them being mentally, emotionally, and physically safe or feeling safe. And that's something that is really important for us to consider as Chicago is a place that they like to call us the melting pot, but we're like that because people from all over the world have come here and settled here to find a new home. Chicago is like no other place in the country because we're a place that has people from all walks of life. And as we continue to have the schools reflect that, I think it's important that we think about our multicultural students and students who are not from this country and their safety too. That hit home for me for sure.
Thank you. Do you want to do, I appreciate that. Do you want to do a quick closing remarks, and then I'll wrap up with a summary of where we go from here?
We were here at the panel last week, and I remember a statement was made about how, as the Black community, we're inviting and pulling in our Latino comrades. We teach at Crane High School. Well, I can speak for myself personally. And I remember before we went there, I told you our students didn't know each other's names. Even further, our Spanish-speaking students were told, this is before we got a translator because we couldn't do that, but CPS didn't provide that. But they were told, whatever you don't understand, here's a laptop, Google Translate. They don't understand anything. So what they're expected to sit at the table and pick words that are kind of familiar. So I think about how intentional are we being to connect intercommunally. You know, I think school is such a important breeding ground for relationship. And Yeah, I think I can close out with that. I think it's important for us to, like you said earlier, they can't be what they can't see. And if they can't see themselves connecting with other cultures, then how can that be possible? How can intercommunalism be the ultimate goal?
I think that, thank you so much for that. I think that as we close out this part of the discussion, what comes to my mind is the saying that we know where the problems lie. We know where the resources are needed. The question is, to what extent do we as a people possess the political will to act upon what we know? And so moving forward, what my greatest hope is, as you all convene with us every Saturday, is that we all begin to develop a collective focus. And so I want to leave this part of the panel with a collective focus on 3 points that was birthed authentically on this stage today. Number one, the conversation about student loans and lack thereof and its impact on the potential for us to produce the black and brown teachers that our students need. And so as you move about your communities and take your respective leadership roles in this community, I want you to be all over that conversation. The other one is with regards, again, in summary, to Title I fundings. And I'm going to make a shameless plug for Rainbow Push Coalition and organizations like ours. If Title I funding is going away, and we're not going to admire problems, we're going to ask for you to support our organizations and others like ours, because we've got to have the after-school programs. We've got to have the before-school programs. We can't just admire the fact unintentionally that these programs will go away if administration does what they've promised us they're going to do. And then lastly, considering the health of our students from an emotional perspective. I'm going to challenge us to consider what role we can play in supporting the young adults who are saying that they desperately need us. Because as indicated, even when I was at Chicago, when I was with you all this past weekend, the students there, the young adults said, we want help with our mental stability, but that's going to come when the adults come off their jobs and spend time with us in mentorships. And I thought mentorship was an old term, but I'll wrap up by saying that those adults said, where are the mentors? We actually still need those of us that are sitting in this audience. They're asking for us to get up close and in their face. So thank you so much for giving your time and your talent. We look forward to continuing to grow with you as we go about the business of determining our collective focus as a people.
Yes.
Give a hand, give a hand, give a hand. Thank you so much, our education panel. Come on, you can give them, encourage them, y'all. Encourage them, y'all. That's what we got to do as a community. That's what we've got to do as a community. You've got to encourage one another. That's what's going to get this movement moving. Yeah. We're going to take a short break. We're going to invite our next panel up, but I want to introduce y'all to somebody. He's got a word for you. Some of y'all may know him already, but I'm excited that he's here sharing what God is doing through him and for the people with him. Amen. Give a round of applause for D-Lo.
Hey, good morning, family. How y'all doing? Blessings. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for being present. I love y'all. These kids need us. These communities need us. The school system need us. So thank y'all for being here. I came just to play a couple of songs. No, one song, not a couple. I came to perform one song. I could do two. Oh, Jesus. Don't get me started, because when I start, I don't stop. But I came to perform some songs that resonate with me so well. I'm from the west side of Chicago, born and raised. And just being at school saved my life. I didn't have a family outside of school, so these educators were my parents, were my guidance. They were my mentors, the people that I looked up to. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to the educators. Shout out to Chairman Allen, my brother, doing so much in these communities, especially for me to help uplift me. So I made this song. Called Let Go and Let God, because when all fail, God does not fail us. You understand what I'm saying? Can I get an amen in here? Right? So I'm going to perform this song God created called Let Go and Let God, just accepting him, thanking him for helping me overcome my trials and my tribulations, never giving up on me. Dee Dee the GOAT, let's do it. We out here making history. You let go and you let God. Just let go and you let God. This is testimony.
I know life gets a little hard. You just gotta keep fighting, put up your guard. If you surrender, I promise you'll take you far. You just gotta let go and let God. I'll let go and I'll let God. God, God. You let go and you let God. God, God. Just let go and you let God. I done had a lot of high winners and some cold summers too. I went and sat in the altar, then went and sat in the booth. Mama, I miss all your sugar and left a mark on my tooth. I went from crawling to walking the soles out my shoes. I stayed in Salvation Armies, I never had me a house. We had roaches and bedbugs and we had nicknamed the mouse. I was so focused on music, ain't had no time for no spouse. I ain't had no time to go pout. I was living life on the couch. Gotta keep my head up to the model, that's YOLO. I hit the ground and bounce back up just like a yo-yo. Can't trust a soul, you know that I'm riding solo. But I got God, that's my dog, that's my bro. I know life gets a little hard. You just gotta keep fighting, put up your guard. If you surrender, I promise you'll take you far. You just gotta let go and let God. I'll let go and I'll let God. God, God. You let go and you let God. G-O-D, that's my D-O-G. G-O-D, that's my D-O-G. Say G-O-D, that's my D-O-G. G-O-D, that's my D-O-G.
Like I was sleeping in the back of buildings. I was sleeping in cars. I was sleeping in truck houses. I lost myself. I lost my mom. I lost my grandparents. I was lost. I was hopeless. But I surrendered myself to God. I could have been out here gangbanging. I could have picked up a gun. I could have picked up a pack. I could have been just doing what the enemy wanted me to do, but I didn't. I stayed submissive and obedient, and I let go and I let God. Y'all make some noise for y'all so. So before I leave here, let me just say a prayer for us. Let me pray over us, our people, for this day. Thank you for this foundation. Thank you for this covenant. We just ask for your grace. Ask for your safety net, Father. Everything is so crazy in this world, but we know that you have this shield over us, protecting our family, our friends, our kids, these communities. Just thank you. Thank you so much for your everlasting love. You are the King of all kings, the God of all God, and we just ask that you continuously just put your arm on us, put your arm around us, wrap us in your blood, Father. Thank you so much for everything you do and everything you're going to continue to do. In your almighty name, let us all say amen. Amen. Thank you, people. Appreciate you. Oh, okay. One last thing. I'm sorry. Thank you, Chairman Allen. He be holding me accountable. You need somebody. You need to surround yourself with three type of people, right? Somebody you can look down at that you can lift up, somebody that you can look up to that can pull you up, and somebody that you can look at that you can hold accountable that can hold you accountable, right? That's my accountability partner right there. But December 6th, I'm having this immersive listening experience, celebrating community, celebrating my growth, celebrating my legacy, celebrating just me allowing God to come in my life and do the things that he's done. And I would love if you guys can be a part of it. You guys can support it. And if you can't support it, I love if you guys can sponsor a table so we can bring some young kids into this experience so we can show them what celebrating community looks like, but most importantly, show them what celebrating themselves look like. You understand? So December 6th, if y'all need more information, my manager, Lisette, is right here at this table. Raise your hand, Lisette. Boom. And just thank you guys once again. God bless y'all. My name is D-Lo. Thank y'all for having me.
Look, so as a pastor, I wasn't always a pastor, wasn't always a preacher, wasn't always a minister, but I want to tell you this. I knew, I was talking to Reverend Jackson, and what I realized is that this is fertile ground, y'all. This is fertile ground. You plant a seed right here at Rainbow Push, and it grows and it multiplies. Yes, that's the way that Reverend Jackson created this space and place. And it wasn't always just to be the same old harvest or the same old crop. It was to bring up the new, and bring up the new. Amen. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. So what I'm telling you is right now on your table, you have an envelope to plant a seed. Through your membership, you plant a seed. Through your gifts, you plant a seed. This is fertile ground. All those things that we're hoping for, this agenda that we're here to create, all these things that we're looking to develop, it begins with the seed. Right there on your table, I want you to pick up. If you are not a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition, I want you to become a member today. And if you are a member, I want you to put a seed in there so that the education programs that we have, we've got our Thanksgiving program coming up soon where we are feeding over 250 individuals. We also have in December our Joy to Wellness, our Journey to Wellness and Joy. Every Saturday, we will be giving out food bags. We will have health screenings. Come on, somebody. This is what our people need. And we need your help. We do this as a community. We came together here to understand the needs of the people and to move in what God has called us to do. So I want you to take time there while we set up our next panel. Our next panel is going to be our community builders, and so please welcome again Dr. Whitaker as our moderator, Anusha Thathakura. Brother Lauren. Yeah. And I think we have Chairman Allen coming back up. Yeah. Chairman Allen from Healthy Hood. Yeah. D-Lo. It's all right. It's all right. Come on up. As I said before, the movement responds to the plan, and we are here to create a plan for the movement. Let's move on to our panel. Thank you very much.
Recognizing that if we're going to move forward, we have to organize. We have to organize. And now is the time to use our talents and the little bit of time that we have to determine what that looks like. And so with that being said, I'm excited to have each of our community organizers here today to do just that, to bring us closer to the community. So I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there. And thank you so much for being here.
It's our pleasure. My name is Anusha Thotakura. I'm the director of Citizen Action Illinois, which is the state's largest and oldest public interest coalition. And in addition to that, I was recently a candidate for the Chicago Board of Education in District 6. So that was, thank you. That was the last time I was here, just a couple weeks ago, in my capacity as a candidate, and it's great to be continuing the work here at Rainbow Push. So thank you.
Right on. Peace, y'all. My name is Lauren. Pronouns are he, they. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, as well as Healthy Hood. And you know, what that means is we do a lot of different work engaging with the community, including political education. We lead a Black Women Revolutionary Study at Healthy Hood right now, is one of those examples. And I'm really grateful to be here today. The first time that I came through the doors of Rainbow Push was for a Saturday Forum, and now I get to actually sit up here and speak with y'all on this side. So incredibly grateful to be here with you all today.
Blessings, family. My name is Darion Simmons, a.k.a. D-Lo. I do work at Healthy Hood Chicago. I'm also doing a lot of youth organizations across our West Chicago in totality. Just staying connected with the youth, creating curriculums through dance, and just allowing them to identify who they are through the cool things that they create.
Thank you so much. So you all, the push is definitely on, and our focus today is setting an agenda for holding government accountable for issues that impact us directly. I'm going to name just a few of them and push forward with a very specific question. Accountable as it relates to issues specific to voting rights, health care access, civil rights, environmental, public education, and immigration rights. Again, you are an active part of the community. What are you hearing related to any of these resonating most with the people that you serve as topics and issues of discussion, and what do you propose that we do about them?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought we was going there. So I work at Marillac. It's on Francisco and Jackson on the west side of Chicago, and the foundation of Marillac is in chaos right now because there's no structure, and the structure lacks from the higher ups not allowing enough room to facilitate. The kids there, they struggle from depression, struggle from anxiety, struggle from substance abuse. And there's no resources for that. Talking about voting, when this election came about, there was no prompt. No, the kids were unprompted to vote. The kids had no push. There was nobody there saying how important that was because they didn't take it as serious, you know. And for me, politics has not necessarily been my main objective because I'm still unfamiliar with it. But there was no appointed person or no appointed resources to help those kids see that the future is in their hands.
There's this quote by Frederick Douglass, "Power concedes nothing without a demand," right? We're here to talk about an agenda today, and I think when we talk about an agenda, we have to talk about what are the specific demands that we are going to make in that agenda. And so when I think about some of these issues, including like healthcare, I think not only do we have to make that push and to educate our people, right? We have to talk about what solutions could look like. I think we also have to recognize where our tax dollars and our money is being spent. And one of the demands has to be to reroute that money back into our communities versus dropping bombs on children and families across the world, right? And interventions in other countries. And, you know, so I think, you know, the next piece I think about there is like, so we're talking about healthcare, right? In this particular case, like, what are some of those demands? I think some of them are pretty simple. We need to increase the number of Black women doctors. We need to protect transgender healthcare. We need to expand medical education on medical racism and gender-affirming care. And we need to guarantee free and affordable healthcare as a right, not a privilege. And I think if this country can afford to pay for universal health care for other countries, why do we have to drown in medical debt here?
I definitely agree with everything that was said, and especially with what's going on at the federal level. I think that the ask that we can make of our federal legislators is to protect us from any rollbacks, from any regression in the progress that we've made. And also, I feel very lucky after this election to be living where I do in Illinois, where we have so many additional protections that we have fought for, that we've elected people to have those protections for us, whether it comes to healthcare or choice or education, but there's more that can be done. And in a state like Illinois, you know, I'm a progressive policy advocate. I go down to Springfield and we have progressive supermajorities in Springfield. But I will say that there's still so much left on the agenda to do. And I'll give an example. That one of the bills that we're really proud to partner with Rainbow Push and many other voting rights and civil rights organizations on is allowing those who are currently incarcerated to vote. And there's only 2 states in the entire United States that never took away that right for people to vote who are incarcerated. But Illinois has that law on the books, as many other states do, that takes away the right if you're currently incarcerated. And there's been a lot of momentum over the past years, activists, you know, long before I joined the fight, fighting for this legislation to make Illinois the first state to restore that right to vote. And so this week there was a lobby day in Springfield where many folks came down to talk to legislators about this issue. And someone asked me, well, especially after the election results and how, folks at Cook County Jail voted, I don't see anybody giving them the right to vote. And that was just so shocking to me, as if it wasn't the principle of allowing people to determine who they want representing them, as if that wasn't what we were fighting for, and we were trying to sway results of any given election. So I would say that's one of the big issues at the top for me.
Thank you for that. And one of the things that I continue to hear consistently is that there's much more work to be done and that we need help. And so the educator in me wants to push all the way back to, and what role do we as adults have in making sure that we practice what I call the policy of intentionality as it relates to making sure that the young adults that can do the heavy lifting with us are conscious about the issues that impact their community. I think that's probably the biggest disconnect that we have of organizing, is making sure that they're in here and they can speak about them. And I'll be remiss if I didn't go back to the fact that a couple of days ago, again, I was at Healthy Hood Chicago. And I was amazed seeing 18, 17, 16-year-olds talking about and looking at research about lead in their schools and lead in the communities in which they live and how that impacts their ability to breathe. Are those conversations being had in schools today? Where I want to go with this is think about the issues that I've referred to and you referred to: voting rights, healthcare issues, civil rights, environmental, and the like. How do we lift those conversations and move them closer to the young adults and the children who can then graduate and go and take the offices that we need them to hold in order to make an impact on our society?
I think we have to remember how intelligent and how much of a sponge that our children are, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we cannot take for granted the high level of intelligence and the potential that they possess. And I think to that end, in order for us to tap into that, we have to make it translatable, right? Like, we have to be very intentional in the way that we speak to them, the way that we teach them, and how we share these lessons with them, and to make it personal for them, right? Like, we have to tell personal stories of neighbors of theirs, like children that look just like them, because those stories exist, right? These situations are not unique, and I think we also have to be students of history ourselves, and then teachers of history too. We have to remind them that this current moment that we're in has a whole history that led up to this current moment. And so we have a responsibility to have a long memory ourselves and then share that back with them as well.
Yeah. As a former educator myself and former candidate for school board, one of the things that I really valued throughout the campaign process was talking to young people. And there were so many spaces where nonprofit organizations and teachers at Chicago Public Schools created space for dialogue between young folks and candidates. So I'm thinking about an event that Chicago Votes and the Social Studies Department put together to have high schoolers from across the city ask candidates questions about the issues that were most important to them. And there were so many young people that were attuned to the injustices that they saw in their own classrooms, but also in classrooms across the city, and the inequities. And they're very educated about their own experiences, right? They're experts in their own experiences. And whether or not they're empowered with the information opportunities to have their voices heard, that's a space that we can create for them as adults. A plug for one organization that I work with, it's called Chicago Debates. It holds debate programming and after-school programs for kids who are in middle school and high school, and they just launched last year a bilingual program at the middle school level, which is what I volunteer as a coach for. And it allows kids the opportunity to engage in different issues that they may not deal with on a daily basis, but develop critical thinking skills, research skills, presentation skills, and then they compete, which is where they get to hear from other people, not just at their own schools, but have them showcase their skills and, compete in that sense. So I would say that it's on us to develop those critical thinking skills and create safe spaces for kids to use them and support them.
Yeah, mine is just real brief. We got to do the work. right? We have to be intentional on understanding how to speak their language so they can receive, but also creating an environment where they feel safe enough to want to know, to want to learn. That's what I think needs to happen.
What else do you think that we can do with the power invested in us to address the economic disparities that exist between the adults in this community and their children and their peers?
I think it all starts with education. Of all the different issues that I work on, it all begins with education. That for me was part of my story. You know, my parents came to this country from India to seek opportunities for education, economic opportunities for their family. And I think that no matter what it is, like the basic issues for basic needs with health, housing, food, those are all issues you need to take care of so that our kids are prepared for success in the classroom. But it does begin with having educational opportunities that kids can have a career and economic mobility for their families and really bring up entire communities.
Yeah, so we mentioned the importance of being students of history, right? I think being a student of history is not only a reminder of how we got to this current moment, but can oftentimes show us the pathway forward, right? And so we make an agenda, we add demands to that agenda. We have to then be willing to fight to make sure those demands are met. We cannot just make the ask and expect it to happen. Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. said, "Peace to you if you're willing to fight for it," right? And so we have to remember that politics and oppression are every single day, and so our struggle has to also be every single day, right? And so, to that end, I think we have to remember our power, right? We are in a house that is built on a name that I just named, Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., that is built on the civil rights movement, Reverend Jackson Jackson, right? And so we have to remember that the winds of the civil rights movement were not handed to us, right? They were not given to us. They were taken. Right? It was organization and mass movement that took those rights, that won those rights that Project 2025 and the Trump administration are going to try and take away from us, right? And so when it comes to trying to get our demands met, whether it be economic, whether it be around voting, whether it be around schools and education, we have to be willing to put in that work every single day and to get organized and to struggle, because the reality is all these reforms and these wins these victories that we have had in decades and all these wins that we have had in previous decades and generations are fragile, right? But when we rise up, we are able to stop the policies that they try to enforce on us. I'm even thinking back to the first Trump administration, when he said he was going to invoke a Muslim ban. And the masses of people rose up and took control of the airports, and that ban didn't happen, right? So that's just two examples between the civil rights movement and the last time that we saw this president in office, of when we rise up, we get organized, and we mobilize as a mass movement, organization and mass movement. Though that's what we have to be oriented towards, because this is a long-term struggle, and it's going to take daily action and intention and strategy in order for us to make sure that these demands are met and that we maintain our rights under any condition, under any president.
Yeah, they pretty much said it all. Such a great panelist, man. You guys are amazing. Yeah, they said it. I totally agree with everything that came out of my people's, yeah.
So we are going to just, first of all, before we progress, we're going to add that we are going to stay on just a few more minutes. So for those of you who are watching us live, you can feel free to join on YouTube. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's please acknowledge that our founder, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, has made his way in the room. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Thank you so much for being here, Rev. Absolutely, absolutely. The push is on. The push is definitely on. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Rev. He likes the way this feels. So listen, I want to, you know what? I want to be fully transparent and tell you that over the last several weeks, I've done probably more than I've ever done before with regards to focusing on organizing. What I've done is really spend more time watching what Reverend did from the beginning to the day. And we're in some hot seats, those of you that are sitting with us now, and those of us that have the honor of actually holding a microphone in front of the Rev, who himself and family has made so many sacrifices on behalf of our people. And so I'm going to elevate and lean into you a little bit around that conversation specific to organizing. Because I think, again, we could all agree that if we didn't learn anything else, that last week we learned that we have to organize. And so what I want to do is to lean on your areas of expertise and passion and give you the spotlight to talk about, if you had a minute and a half or so to describe what organizing would look like right now to help save and advance our people, what does that look like?
So, it's a new buzzword right now, like relational organizing. And that's something that I think after the Georgia elections in 2021, a lot of the political space is focused on relational organizing, which really just means that, asking a stranger to do something, they may or may not do it. But if you tap into your own network of your friends, your family, your peers, people are a lot more likely to listen to you. And so it's always, even if you're talking to strangers, that's helpful too, that's still organizing. But some of the work that we did at Citizen Action this election cycle was on college campuses across Illinois, having college students talk to other college students to ask their friends to vote this election. So it wasn't just them asking other college students to vote, it was asking college students to write down the names of 5 friends that they are going to text to vote this year. And that's something that we had copied, we replicated from successes in other states where they had done similar programs on college campuses. But we saw tremendous voter turnout increases from that work. And I think the takeaways that we can use, whether it's an election or not, is that it really starts with you and your own personal network of friends and family. Any of us, we can go through and make phone calls or knock some doors, and that it's all super, super important. But the network to exhaust first is your own phone contacts list, and make sure that you've done everything so that the people who want to hear from you and for whom it means a lot to hear from you specifically, hear from you about the issues that you care about and the actions that you want them to take.
Powerful.
Yeah, I think about this one a lot. So I think organizing is absolutely big on relationships, right? And building intentionality around those relationships. I think that we not only have to build relationships in order to just work with folks, I think we have to provide opportunity and space for folks to see themselves as actors in the struggle, to build the skills that they need to contribute to the struggle, right? To empower folks, not just to do political education so folks can remember the name Assata Shakur, but do political education so that we can learn the lessons that Assata Shakur gave us in her autobiography and her writings and through her life and her teachings, right? So that's one piece. I also think that it's important for us to remember our power, not just as individuals, but more importantly, our collective power, right? I gave some examples earlier of what we are capable of when we rise up together in mass movement in an organized fashion, right? I think another piece about organizing that's important, and is especially important right now in this moment, is unity across these lines of divisions that have been forced upon us, right? We need working class unity today, yesterday, and every day from now on. Has to be a priority, right? And we have to build intention and strategy in order to cultivate that. I think about we held here in this space, Chicago People's Assembly. One of the sessions during that was on Black, Latino, and Arab solidarity, right? That then trickled down into a fishbowl discussion. We then had a film screening of a documentary that connected Palestine and Cuba's struggles. And then there was a protest, a mobilization for Palestine and Cuba. And so we have to also not only be planning these one-off reactions to our moment, like they have to be feeding towards something that is long-term, right? Building a base, right? Like empowering people, building a base, and bringing people together and educating them. And I think, I think another piece that is incredibly important, two other pieces that I'll add, and then I'll shut up and pass it to D-Lo, is I think we have to remember exactly who our enemy is at all times. Donald Trump is a symptom. He is a symptom of the system. The system is capitalism. And so I just wanted to touch on that piece and say that we have to have patience. We cannot expect for our political wins to come at the flip of a switch. Assata Shakur said that the hardest lesson that they had to learn during the Black Power movement was that you have to chip away at your enemy slowly in order to win those victories.
Okay, yeah, that was good. Just small piece for me. I created a curriculum geared towards navigating through the music industry, teaching these kids the importance of independence, how to monetize themselves, and how to capitalize off the things that they create. So I think that it's important for us to create that balance of having these kids in a space where they know how to coexist, right? Where they can create, they can learn their independence, but also display unity while doing it, holding each other accountable. So that's my idea of organizing throughout our community with our kids.
Thank you so much. You all have done a great job. In summary, because I'm really big on making sure we walk out with summaries, the biggest takeaway from the second part of our panel today, you heard, has been for us to continue to organize, but to use the communities that we live, the power that we have, the resources that we have, the people that we have access to organize in ways that matter. We want to continue, again, a plug for Rainbow Push. We need you. The push is on. We need you now more than ever. You need us now more than ever. So if you can give to support, do so. And if you can't, still leave your contact information with us, because we intend to remain committed to doing the heavy lifting. And going back to the education panel, you all heard today, as you're hearing on local and national news, there's a big push to do away with the federal funding, the Title I funding that funds the resources and the programs that the students in your community needs. With that being said, you have to continue to support organizations like ours, so when those programs go away, we can keep the doors open and continue to grow the young adults in our communities to be the advocates and the fighters that we need for tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Look, I'm reminded of this slogan, ain't nothing like the real thing. Rainbow Push Coalition is the real thing, everybody. It's the real thing. You've got an envelope on your table right now, and I need you to put something in there, because the fight for freedom is not free. Everything that we talked about, there is an extension of the Rainbow Push Coalition that speaks to that, to education, to healthcare, to food security. We have a program for each and every one of the topics that was discussed today. But it ain't free. So I need for you to put something in that envelope. Don't leave without planting your seed today. I'm going to give you a few minutes to pick up your envelope, to write your name down and become a part of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Movements don't happen on accidents. They don't happen on accident. I'm reminded of Rosa Parks sitting down. What? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? That wasn't just a happenstance. That was a movement planned. You planned for the movement. There was a system, there was a program that was going to be enacted. There was an action after that action in order for us to create this civil rights movement. And so when we sit here today and we talk about all the ideas and all the plans that we have in order to create this agenda, know that it's an action that you're going to have to take. That first action starts with you filling out that envelope. That first action starts with you putting something in that envelope right now. We have someone coming around that's going to pick up envelopes. Just put your envelope in the air. We have somebody coming around right now. Just put your envelope high in the air. Be proud about it. Be proud of it. That's right. You can give applause. Be proud about it. You're making a step forward. You're planting a seed. You're planting a seed. Yes. Yes. We have an event coming up on the 23rd. And Arthur, I want you to come up. Please keep your envelope in the air. Keep your envelope in the air so we can pick it up. I want to introduce you to Arthur Dennis. He is spearheading an event coming up on November 23rd. If you say a few words about that.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name's Arthur. I'm an educator and organizer, and the event that I'm hosting here next week is called Fair Elections Chicago. It is a town hall that is focused on one thing. How is it that regardless after election, we vote for people that look like us, and yet it seems like they're not doing the things that we demand as a community? There is a reason why. So next week's conversation is focused on why is that reason and what can be done about that. I do have flyers here, so if you need a visual reminder, you can take one of these flyers, but we'll be here next Saturday. Doors open at 11:30 a.m. with the event starting at 12. We'll have Alderman Matt Martin from the 47th Ward, Alderman Desmond Yancey from the 5th Ward, and Alderwoman Julia Ramirez from the 15th. So if you want to learn more about the why, I see some head nods, please come here at Push, stay for the breakfast, and remain for the town hall. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm going to say that a little bit louder. We talked about it earlier. We have a Thanksgiving dinner coming up on Thanksgiving where we'll serve the community. We also have our Journey to Wellness and Joy here. Every Saturday in December, we will have health screenings. Founders Month. Come on, give a hand for Founders Month, y'all. 1971 in December. The choir is coming back. We got any members of the Push Choir here? Any members? Yeah, put your hands in the air. Wave them like you just don't care. Yay! Celebrate it. December's going to be off the chain, y'all. So every Saturday, we're going to have wellness screenings. We're going to have food giveaways. We're going to have fun and games. We're also going to have just a celebration of the season and the reason for the season. So find yourself here in one way or another serving at the Rainbow Push Coalition. And it takes giving. So if you have not found your way to filling out and filling up this envelope. Fill out and fill up the envelope. I know there were a couple people while we were talking that were still filling out and filling up. So raise your envelope in the air. Raise your envelope. Anybody else? Yep. Come on, I see a few more that are still filling out. I see a few more. If you're online, you can go online and you can donate to the Rainbow Push Coalition. We're going to step into a membership drive, aren't we, soon? Yes, we are, a membership drive. So we want... Dr. Sonia Whitaker is going to lead that membership drive. So look for some communications from her. Yeah, give her a hand. I'm telling you, there are people stepping into new roles and new places. Say that one more time, Doctor. He said, go Sonia, go Sonia. All right, everyone. We want to thank you for coming here and joining us at the Rainbow Push Coalition for the Saturday Morning Forum. Don't forget, next week, the forum will be centered around education, but then we'll move into that election conversation at 12 o'clock. So we've got a full day. We're going to nourish you. We're going to have some water. We're going to have some breakfast. But we want you to get engaged, get involved, get informed, and let's keep hope alive. 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 Keep hope alive.